We have a truly spectacular contest to show you today. It is a game played between William Robert Ballard, commanding the white pieces, and Joseph George Fagan, leading the black pieces. But this is no ordinary game. This is what is known as an odds game. In the 19th century, if a strong player wanted to challenge someone slightly below their level to create a fair fight, they would voluntarily remove one of their own pieces from the board before the first move was even played. In this specific encounter, Ballard has removed his queen's knight from the square b1. He is starting the game with a material deficit. But that isn't even the most amazing part of this game. What you are about to witness is a statistical anomaly, a world record that arguably has never been broken in serious play. It is a game of reckless abandonment, where one side decides that defense is a concept for the weak. The game begins. Ballard, playing white, opens with the pawn to e4. He stakes a claim in the center immediately, freeing his king's bishop and queen. Now, remember, the square b1 is empty. His knight is already gone. Fagan, playing black, responds symmetrically, pushing his pawn to e5, challenging the center and stopping white from advancing further. Ballard is here to attack. He wastes no time. He plays the pawn to f4. This is the king's gambit. It is the hallmark of the Romantic era of chess. White offers a pawn for free, right at the start, to lure the black pawn away from the center. Fagan accepts the challenge and captures the pawn. Playing pawn takes f4. Ballard develops his remaining knight, playing knight to f3. This prevents the black queen from swooping down to h4 with a check, while also controlling the center. Black responds by developing his bishop to e7. This is a quiet, preparatory move. Fagan is loading the spring, preparing to strike back. Ballard continues his rapid development, bringing his bishop to c4. The bishop eyes the weak f7 square near the black king, the classic target in all open games. But now, Fagan springs his trap. He plays bishop to h4, delivering a check to the white king. This is the point of his previous move. He wants to disrupt white's coordination immediately. Ballard has a choice here, but he chooses the most aggressive path. He pushes his pawn to g3, blocking the check with a sacrifice. He is inviting black to destroy his kingside structure. Fagan obliges, playing pawn takes g3. Now, things get interesting. Instead of recapturing, Ballard simply ignores the pawn. He castles. He tucks his king away on the kingside, bringing his rook to the file. This is a true gambit. He is allowing the black pawn to threaten his king in exchange for a massive lead in development. Fagan brings his knight to h6, defending the f7 square and preparing to castle himself. Ballard strikes in the center, pushing his pawn to d4. He now has full control of the middle of the board. His bishops have open diagonals, and his center is solid. Fagan, perhaps sensing the coming storm, decides to get his king to safety and castles kingside. But now, look at the kingside. Ballard captures the pawn on g3. This opens up the h-file for his rook. Suddenly, that rook on h1 is a laser beam pointing straight at the black king's defensive wall. Fagan responds by capturing the pawn on g3 with his bishop, effectively winning another pawn and keeping the pressure on. Ballard's king is somewhat exposed. He steps his king to g2. He is using his king to support the rook and step out of any immediate pinning tactics. Fagan retreats his bishop to d6, keeping it active but pulling it out of the direct line of fire. Ballard slides his rook over to h1. He wants to use that open lane to deliver a checkmate. Fagan brings his heavy artillery into the game, playing queen to f6. This adds more defense to his position and eyes the queenside. Ballard pushes forward. He advances the pawn to e5, attacking the black queen and grabbing more space. This is a tempo move, gaining time by forcing the opponent to react. Fagan's queen is under fire, so he moves her to g6, delivering a check to the white king. The white king is on a journey today. Ballard moves his king to f1. He is running away from the checks, trying to find a safe harbor amidst the chaos. Fagan now activates his knight, jumping it to f5. That knight is a monster, eyeing the g3 square and threatening to fork the white pieces. Ballard needs to challenge the control of the g-file. He brings his rook to g1, placing it opposite the black queen. The tension is palpable. Fagan, feeling the momentum, checks the king again by playing knight to g3. Ballard's king is forced to move again, king to f2. He is stepping up, almost joining the battle himself. Fagan checks again, knight to e4. The black knights are swarming like hornets. Ballard moves his king to e1. He is back on the back rank, dancing around his own pieces to avoid the black cavalry. Fagan now brings his bishop into the attack, playing bishop to b4, delivering yet another check. The white king has no piece. Ballard blocks the check by pushing the pawn to c3. This is a desperate defense, but it holds. Fagan captures the pawn with his knight, playing knight takes c3. He is tearing apart the pawn shield, protecting the white monarch. Ballard recaptures with the b-pawn, playing pawn takes c3. He has managed to trade off one of the attackers, but his queenside is shattered. Fagan captures the pawn on c3 with his bishop, renewing the threat. Ballard steps his king to f2. He is trying to manually coordinate his pieces because his development has been so disrupted by the constant checks. Fagan brings his queen to c6, eyeing the loose bishop on c4 and the rook on a1. Ballard realizes his bishop is a liability. He retreats the bishop to d3. He wants to keep it on the board to aim at the black king later. Fagan sees a free meal. He plays bishop takes a1. He captures the white rook in the corner. At this point, you have to look at the material count. White is missing a rook and a knight. His king is wandering. Black seems to be winning easily, but Ballard is not playing for material. He is playing for the attack. Ballard ignores the loss of his rook and pushes his pawn to d5. He attacks the black queen. He is trying to confuse the issue, to complicate the position so much that black makes a mistake. Fagan checks the king again with queen to b6. Ballard blocks with his bishop, playing bishop to e3. Finally, some coordination. The bishop defends the king and attacks the queen. Fagan moves his queen to b2, checking the king again. This is relentless. Ballard moves his king to f1. He is safe for the moment. Fagan decides to try and break white's center structure by playing pawn to f5. He wants to open lines for his own rooks. White plays bishop to d4. He places his bishop on a powerful central square, directly staring down the long diagonal at the black king's position. He is ignoring the threats to his own material. Fagan grabs the pawn on a2 with his queen. Ballard is now ready to launch his final attack. He plays bishop takes a1. He eliminates the black bishop that was causing so much trouble in the corner. Fagan brings his queen back to the center, playing queen to d5. Now, look at the board. Count the pawns. White is running out of infantry. Ballard pushes his pawn to e6. This is the thrust. He is ripping open the defensive lines around the black king. Fagan pushes his pawn to g6, trying to create an escape square for his king and block the diagonal. Ballard pushes the pawn again. Pawn to e7. This little pawn has marched all the way from e4. Survived the chaos, and is now one square away from becoming a queen. It is a dagger in the heart of black's position. It also cuts off the king's escape route. Fagan tries to blockade, playing rook to e8. Ballard brings his queen into the game with devastating force on move 27. Queen to e2. He connects his queen with the advanced pawn and prepares to invade. Fagan tries to defend with queen to c5, hoping to trade queens or at least slow down the attack. Ballard is not interested in trading. He shifts his queen to b2. He is lining up a battery on the long diagonal. He is looking at the g7 square. Fagan, feeling the pressure, takes the pawn on e7 with his rook. But this is exactly what Ballard wanted. He has cleared the lines. Now, pause for a second. Look at the white side of the board. Count the white pawns. There are none. 0. Ballard has sacrificed or lost every single one of his 8 pawns. This is the world record we spoke of, winning a game after losing all 8 pawns. Ballard delivers the killing blow. Queen to h8 check. He throws his most powerful piece into the fire. The black king is forced to move. Fagan plays king to f7. The king is dragged out into the open. And now, the final curtain. Ballard plays knight to g5. Checkmate. Just look at that final position. All the pawns are gone. It is just a bishop, queen, and a knight, coordinating perfectly to strangle the black king in the middle of the board. It is a triumph of spirit over matter, of imagination over calculation. Ballard started without a knight, gave away his entire army of pawns, and still managed to weave a mating net that is as beautiful as it is improbable. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild side of chess history, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on these incredible stories from the 64 squares.